Outside Japan, they did not do any kind of business. So they were in the Japan itself doing the business. This particular company, they were willing to give a firm order for 3 years for annual purchase of 4 lakh set of liquor. Since the Japanese government did not allow them to for the overseas investment in other countries, this option would not find favor with either of the American buyers, since because they had approached only Nakamura and realizing that he was the best person to meet the order. Hi and a warm welcome to you all dear students. Hi, George Lime, Commerce Faculty, Department of Commerce, Vidyashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysore. Dear students, in the last session I was explaining to you about the case studies, the last unit in your particular business policy syllabus, and in this session we shall take up the second case study, right? So in this session it is of Nakamura Liquor Company. Let us understand the introduction part of this. So NLC, Nakamura Liquor Company of Kyoto, that is Japan, it is situated in Japan, employed several thousand men. So they started to employ, recruit several thousands of men, that is a human resource, and produced 5 lakh pieces of liquor tableware annually, with this Chrysanthemum brand becoming Japan's best known and best selling brand. So in Japan, this is the very best brand and the best selling brand which is having lot of quality and is a very branded product. The annual profit from the operations was 2,50,000 in dollars. Now the market of liquor in Japan seemed to have matured. So it is in a mature stage now, and with the production steady at 5 lakh pieces a year. So because of the market of this particular lacquerware in Japan, so it is a matured company, and thereby the production is also steady and it is producing 5 lakh pieces in a year. Now this NLC company did practically no business outside Japan. So outside Japan, they did not do any kind of business. So they were in the Japan itself doing the business. In the May 2000, much to the charm, it says the ambiguous and dynamic Mr. Nakamura, that is the chairman of this company, received 2 offers from American companies wishing to sell the liquor company, ware company in America. So in May 2000, this particular, the ambiguous and the dynamic leader, or we call the chairperson of this particular company, NLC company, he received 2 offers. That is one from American companies, where both from American companies where they are wishing to sell this liquor company in America. The first offer was from the National China Company. The first offer was from the National China Company. It was the largest manufacturer of quality dinnerware in the US, and with their Rose and Crown, that is the brand, accounting for almost 30% of the total sales. So the first offer was from National China Company, right? And it was the largest manufacturer of good quality dinnerware in the US company, that is in US, America, and with their Rose and Crown brand. So the brand name was Rose and Crown, and which accounted for almost 30% of the total sales. And they were willing to give a firm order for 3 years for annual purchases of rupees 4 lakh sets of liquor dinnerware delivered in Japan, and at 5% more than what Japanese jobless paid. So here, this particular company, they were willing to give a firm order for 3 years for annual purchase of 4 lakh set of liquor dinnerware and delivered in Japan, and at 5% more than what the Japanese jobless paid. But however, Nakamura would have to forego this particular trademark, that is Crestmet trademark, that is Rose and Crown, and also to undertake not to sell the lacquerware, that is to anyone else in the USA. Now the second offer was from the Samesel Black and Whitaker, where it says it is in Chicago. It is the largest supplier of the hotel and restaurant supplies in the US. And they perceived a US market of 6 lakh sets of every year, expecting it to go up to 2 million in around 5 years. Since the Japanese government did not allow the overseas investment, because Japanese government they did not allow the overseas investment, the SSW was willing to budget $1.5 million for the next 2 years towards the introduction and the promotion of their company. And here the Nakaram would sell is Crystameth, that is a brand, but would have to give exclusive representation to the SSW company for 5 years at a standard commission rate, and also to forego its profit margin towards paying back of $1.5 million. Now the next question arises. So this is about the introduction part of that particular company. Now what should Mr. Nakamura do? What he should do? Now here the analysis, that is situation analysis. It says the Nakamura Liquor Company based in Kyoto, that is Japan, was one of the many small handicrafts, right, making this lacquera for the daily table use of the Japanese people. Secondly, the Nakamura, the personality, it says in 1948, young Mr. Nakamura took over his family business. So this person took over, Nakamura took over the family business in the year 1948, and he saw an opportunity in order to cater to the new market of America, that is GIS of the occupation army, who had begun to buy this lacquera ware of souvenirs. But however, he realized that the traditional handicraft methods were inadequate. They were inadequate, not sufficient. So what he did, he was an innovator, coming out with new things, and introduced simple methods of processing and inspecting using the machines. And then after 4 years later, when the occupation army left in 1952, Nakamura employed several thousand men, and he produced 5 lakh pieces of lacquera tableware each year of a Japanese mass consumer market. And the profit from the operation was, as I told you earlier, $250,000. Now coming to the brand, Nakamura named his brand as Chrysanthemum after the national flower of Japan. So the national flower of Japan is Chrysanthemum, that is, which is a national flower of Japan, which showed his patriotic favor. So why he took it? Because he was very much patriotic towards the country, and that showed his patriotic by accepting that particular the brand. The brand became Japan's best known as also the best selling brand, and being synonymous with the good quality, it had a very good quality, middle class, as well as it was like totally dependent on the middle class family as well as dependability. Now what should Mr. Nakaram do? For the now coming to the market based analysis, the market for lacquera in Japan seems to have matured. So this company is also a matured company with a production steady at 5 lakh pieces a year. And Nakamura did practically no business outside Japan and not anywhere in outside. However, early 1960s, when the American interest in Japan products began to grow, Nakamura received 2 offers, as I told you earlier. The Rose and Crown offer, first one, this is the first offer. The first offer was from Mr. Phil Rose, VP, that is Vice President of Marketing at the National China Company, and they were the largest manufacturer of goods quality dinnerware in the US, and with their Rose and Crown brand accounting for almost 30% of the total sales. And they were willing to give the firm order for 3 years for annual purchase of 4 lakh set of liquor dinnerware, which is delivered in Japan at 5% more than what the Japanese jobless. But Nakaram have to forego all this Chrysanthemum trademark to Rose and Crown, and also undertaken to sell lacquerware to anyone else in the US. The offer promised returns of $720,000 over 3 years, right? But with net returns of $83,000, but with little potential for the US market on the Chrysanthemum brand beyond that period. Now the Simmelback offer, it says it was from Mr. Walter Simmelback and Witterkrack, that is Chicago, situated in Chicago, the largest supplier of the hotel and restaurant supplies in the US, and they pursued a US market of 6 lakh sets every year, expecting it to go up to $2 million in 5 years. But since the Japanese government did not allow them for the overseas investment in other countries. So Simmelbach was willing to budget $1.5 million, although the offer was implied negative returns of $467,000 over the first 5 years. The offer had to potential to give $1 million profit if the sales picked up as been anticipated. Now, meeting the order. In order to meet the number of requirements of the orders, Nakamura would either have to expand the capacity of the company or to cut down the domestic market. Now, if he choose to expand the capacity, then the danger was going to face is of an idle capacity in case the US market did not respond. Secondly, if he cut down the domestic market, right, the danger was of losing out a well-established market. So, these are the two important threats which was faced by Nakamura. Nakamura could also source part of the supply from other vendors. However, this option would not find favor with either of the American buyers, since because they had approached only Nakamura and realizing that he was the best person to meet the order. Now, the decision problem. Here comes the problem. Here he has to take the decision. So, the decision problem is whether to accept any of the two offers, or if yes, which one of the two and under what terms and conditions. So, now the question arises, the decision question or the problem arises whether to accept any of this particular two offers, and if you are yes, if your answer is yes, I am going to accept this offer, but out of two, which one you are going to accept the offer and what will be the terms and conditions. So, this is about the question, students. In the next session, we will see about the solution for it, right. So, I will just explain to you once again. So, here case 2, it is of Nakamura Liquor Company. The Nakamura Liquor Company NLC of Kyoto, that is Kyoto, Japan, employed several thousand men, which produce 5 lakh pieces of liquid table annually, and with its Chrysanthemum brand becoming Japan's best known and best selling brand, and the annual profit from this operation was $250,000. Now, the market for this liquor in Japan seems to have matured. It is a matured company, and where it is a steady production is there at 5 lakh pieces every year, and NLC did practically no business outside India. So, it did not do any kind of business outside India. In May 2000, it says Mr. Nakamura chairman received 2 offers from American companies wishing to sell the lacquerware in America. But first offer was from the National China Company. It was the largest manufacturer of goods quality dinnerware in US, and with their Rose and Crown, that is a brand name of the company, and is accounting for almost 30% of the total sales. Now, secondly, and also it says they are willing to give the firm order for 3 years terms for annual purchase of 4 lakh sets of liquor dinnerware delivered in Japan, and at 5% more than what the Japanese jobless paid. Nakamura would have to forego this particular Chrysanthemum trademark, that is to Rose and Crown, and also undertake not to sell the liquorware to anywhere else in the US. Now, coming to the second offer was of Simmelbach and Whitaker, that is, it is in Chicago, the largest supplier of the hotel and restaurant supplies in US, and they pursued a US market of 6 lakhs sets a year, expecting it to go up to 2 million in around 5 years. Now, since the Japanese government did not allow the overseas investment, so SSW was willing to budget 1.5 million, that is dollars, for the next 2 years, and towards introduction and promotion. Nakamura would sell his Chrysanthemum brand, but would not give exclusive representation to SSW for 5 years at a standard commission rate, and also to forego his profit margin towards paying back of rupees 1.5 million. Now, here comes the situation analysis, where the Nakamura Liquor Company, based in Kyoto, Japan, was one of the many small handicraft shops making liqueur for the daily table use of the Japanese people. So, the Nakamura, related to his personality, we will see is in 1948 he was a young Mr. Nakamura took over his family business, and he saw an opportunity in order to cater the new market to America. GIs of the occupation army who had begun to buy the aqua ware as souvenirs. But however, he realized that the traditional handicraft methods were inadequate, it was not sufficient. So he was an innovator and introduced simple methods of processing and inspecting using machines. Later, 4 years later, when the occupation army left in 1952, Nakamura employed several thousand men and produced 5,000 pieces of lacquers, tablewares, each of the Japanese mass consumer market, and the profit operation was $250,000. Now coming to the brand, it says Nakamura named his brand as Chrysanthemum, that is after the national flower of the Japan, and which showed his patriotic favor or interest. And the brand became the Japan's best known and best selling brand, that is the Chrysanthemum, and the synopsis with very good quality product, and also it is a target audience or target customer is the middle class people, and also it is more dependability. And coming to the market for lacquerware in Japan seems to have matured one with a production steady, as I told you, 5,000 pieces a year. Then Nakamura did practically no business outside Japan. So in early 1960, when Japan interest in Japanese products began to grow, Nakamura received two offers. One is the Rose and Crown offer. Then this first offer was by Mr. Phil Rose, Vice President of Marketing at the National China Company, where the largest manufacturer of good quality dinnerware in the US, and with the Rose and Crown brand accounting for almost 30% of the total sales. And they were willing to give the firm order for 3 years for annual purchase of 4 lakh sets of liquor dinnerware delivered in Japan, and at 5% more than what the Japanese jobbers paid. But however, Nakamura would have to forego all these things, the Chrysanthemum trademark, to Rose and Crown, and also undertake to sell liquor ware to anyone else in the US. The offer promised returns of $720,000 over 3 years, but little potential for the US market on the Chrysanthemum brand beyond that particular period. Now, Semmelback offer, the second offer from Mr. Walter and Semmelback and Whitaker, Chicago, the largest supplier of the hotel and restaurant suppliers in US. They pursued a US market of 6,000 sets a year, expecting to go up to $2 million in a year, around 5 years. $2 million in 5 years. Since the Japanese government did not allow the overseas investment, that is to invest in the foreign countries, the Semmelback was willing to budget $1.5 billion, although the offer was implied negative returns of $467,000 over the first 5 years. The offer had to potential and give $1.1 billion profit if the sales picked up as anticipated. Now, meeting the order, to meet the number of requirements of the orders, Nakamura would either have to expand the capacity or to cut down the domestic market. But if he chooses to expand the capacity, the danger or the threat was of the ideal capacity in case of the US market did not respond, and if he cut down on the domestic market, the danger was of losing out a well established market. So these are two important threats he was facing. So Nakamura could not secure part of the supply from other vendors. So however, this option would not find favor with either of the American buyers, since they had approached only Nakamura and realizing that he was the best person to meet the order. And then now comes the decision problem, that is whether to go for this offers. If you go for this offer, which one to offer, that is which one to take it, and what are the terms and conditions. So the decision problem, whether to accept any of these two offers, and if it is yes, if you say yes, you'll go for that offer, accept the offer, which offer you are going to accept out of these two, and what are the terms and conditions of this. So students, these are the important terms related to this particular case study 2. Okay, so Nakamura's Liquorware Company. So we shall understand the next part, the second part, that is the solution part, in the next session. So this is all about the question as well as what are the implications and what are the questions arising and the threats arising in this particular case. So see you in the next session. Until then, take care. Have a nice day. Thank you.